You woke up this morning and the first thing you did was grab your phone. You did not decide to do that. Your hand moved before your mind had a chance to speak. That is not a habit. That is not a routine. That is a man who lost the war before he even knew there was a battle. You are 35, maybe 40. You have built things. You have responsibilities. People depend on you. And yet, in the privacy of your own mind, in the silence between one distraction and the next, you know something is wrong. You feel it. That low, constant pull toward the screen, toward the next video, toward the image, toward anything that gives you a hit of something fast, easy, and empty. You are not tired. You are drained. There is a difference. A tired man rests and recovers. A drained man rests and still feels hollow. Marcus Aurelius commanded the most powerful empire on earth. He faced war, betrayal, plague, and the slow death of people he loved. And every single morning, before the world demanded anything from him, he sat down and wrote. Not to be productive, not to perform discipline, but to remind himself of one single truth. The only thing that is truly yours is the way you respond to what happens to you. He did not have a feed. He did not have notifications. He did not have an industry engineered to hijack his attention and monetize his weakness. And he still had to fight this battle every day. What does that tell you about your chances? Distracted, overstimulated, and convinced you just need more willpower. You do not have a willpower problem. You have a conditioning problem. And that is both worse and better than you think. Worse, because it means the system is working exactly as designed, and you have been losing ground slowly, quietly, for years. Better, because conditioning can be broken, but not by motivation, not by a cold shower, not by a 3-step morning routine you found on a reel at 1 a.m., by philosophy, by the kind of thinking that was forged in actual suffering, by actual men who had no interest in making you feel good about yourself. This video is not going to make you feel good about yourself. It is going to show you exactly what you are, exactly what you have been doing, and exactly what it costs. And then, if you are still watching, we begin. Dopamine was never the enemy. It is the reason you finish things, the reason you pursue, the reason a man wakes up with purpose and moves towards something real. But that was before the engineers got involved. Every app on your phone was designed by teams of psychologists, data scientists, and behavioral experts with one single goal: to trigger dopamine release as fast as possible, as often as possible, with as little effort required from you as possible. They did not build tools. They built traps. And the trap works because it uses your own biology against you. Every scroll, every like, every notification, every image, a hit, a release, a reset, and then the pull to do it again, slightly stronger than before. That is not pleasure. That is a chain. And the worst part is that the chain has no lock. You are holding it closed yourself. Here is what actually happens inside your brain. You see the stimulus. Dopamine spikes. You get the hit. The spike drops. You feel flat, emptier than before. So you go back for another hit, not because it felt good, but because the absence of it feels unbearable. That is the cycle. And it has nothing to do with pleasure anymore. It is about escaping the discomfort that the cycle itself created. You are not chasing satisfaction. You are chasing relief. Marcus Aurelius called this the trap of appetite. The more you feed it, the larger it grows, and the less it gives you in return. 2,000 years before neuroscience had a name for it, the Stoics already knew. An undisciplined mind does not seek joy. It seeks the next hit to silence the noise of the last one. You are not broken. You are caught in a loop. And the first step out is simply knowing the loop exists. There is something you have never said out loud, not to your wife, not to your friends, not to anyone who looks at you and sees a man who has it together. It lives in the gap between who you present yourself to be and what you actually do when the door is closed and the screen is the only witness. That gap has a name, and it is heavier than you admit. Shame does not announce itself. It operates quietly, as procrastination, as irritability, as the inability to be fully present with the people who matter most to you. It is the reason you check your phone in the middle of a conversation, the reason you feel hollow after moments that should feel full. The Stoics did not run from shame. They used it, not as punishment, as information. Shame tells you exactly where your actions have separated from your values. It is a compass, not a sentence. The man who faces it grows. The man who scrolls past it stays exactly where he is. No one is doing this to you. That is the part that is hardest to accept. Not your childhood, not your circumstances, not the algorithm, not the industry, not the stress of your life. They are all real. They all play a role. But at some point, at some specific, undeniable point, you made a choice, and then you made it again and again, until the choice stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like gravity. That is auto-sabotage, not a dramatic self-destruction, a quiet, daily vote against the man you are capable of being. Every time you know what you should do and do the opposite, you are not failing. You are choosing your own defeat. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not out there. It is the hand reaching for the phone. It is your hand. Own it. That is where the power returns. You tell yourself you deserve it. You worked hard. The day was long. The pressure was real. And this, whatever this is just your way of unwinding, of being free for a moment. That is the lie the cycle tells you to keep you inside it. Freedom is not the absence of resistance. Freedom is the ability to choose your response regardless of what you feel in the moment. What you call unwinding is surrender dressed as rest. What you call pleasure is a cage with an open door, one you walk back into every single night. The Stoics made a sharp distinction between what feels good and what is good. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave, understood freedom better than most men who have never worn chains. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You can own everything and be owned by a screen. That is not freedom. That is the most expensive prison ever built. The Stoics did not preach abstinence. They were not monks. They were not running from the world. Marcus Aurelius led armies. Seneca accumulated wealth. Epictetus lived among free men while legally owning nothing. They existed inside the full complexity of human life, and they still mastered it. What they understood is this: the impulse itself is not the problem. The problem is the man who cannot pause between the impulse and the action. They called this the decisive moment. That fraction of a second between stimulus and response. That is where character lives. That is where freedom is either claimed or surrendered. The Stoics trained that pause the way a soldier trains his body, deliberately daily, without exception. They called it ascesis, discipline as practice, not punishment, not denial. Practice. The impulse will come. It always does. The only question is whether you are the one deciding what happens next. You have been sold a distorted image of discipline. Discipline as suffering, as deprivation, as the joyless life of a man who denies himself everything in exchange for some distant, abstract reward. That is not discipline. That is punishment with a better marketing campaign. Real discipline is not about what you remove from your life. It is about what you reclaim. Every time you choose not to reach for the stimulus, you are not losing something. You are taking something back. Your attention, your clarity, your time. Your capacity to be present in your own life instead of consuming a simulation of it. Marcus Aurelius did not practice discipline because he hated pleasure. He practiced it because he understood that a man who is governed by his appetites cannot govern anything else, not his work, not his relationships, not himself. Discipline is not the opposite of freedom. It is the only path to it. The undisciplined man does not do what he wants. He does what he feels. And those are not the same thing. You have two versions of yourself, the one the world sees, and the one that exists at midnight alone, with a screen and no consequences. Most men spend their entire lives managing the gap between those two versions, performing integrity in public, abandoning it in private, and slowly, without noticing, the private version begins to bleed into the public one. Your identity is not what you claim, it is what you repeatedly do. The Stoics understood this with brutal clarity. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your habits, and your habits are built in the moments no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations for no audience. There was no one to impress, no followers, no performance, just a man holding himself accountable to the standard he believed a good man should meet. That is identity, not what you post, not what you promise, what you do when the door is closed and the only judge is you. You think it is free. The app costs nothing, the content costs nothing, the scroll costs nothing. But you are not paying with money. You are paying with something that cannot be refunded. You are paying with attention, the only currency that actually builds a life. Every hour consumed by the feed is an hour not spent building something real, a skill, a relationship, a version of yourself worth becoming. You are paying with presence. The people in front of you are receiving what is left of you after the screen has taken its share, and what is left is never enough. You are paying with ambition. The man who spends his edge on cheap stimulation has nothing left for the pursuits that require sustained, focused, disciplined energy. The digital addiction does not look like destruction. It looks like relaxation. It looks like a reward. It looks like nothing until you zoom out and see the years it consumed while you were convinced you were just unwinding. Nothing about this is free. You are paying the highest price there is. You are paying with your life. Philosophy is not an academic exercise. It is not something you read to sound intelligent at dinner. It is not a collection of quotes you post on a Monday morning to feel motivated before doing exactly what you always do. For the Stoics, philosophy was a weapon, a daily practice of mental combat against the forces, internal and external, that sought to pull a man away from his own reason. They called the undisciplined emotions pathe, passions, not feelings, distortions, fear that becomes paralysis, desire that becomes compulsion, pleasure that becomes dependency. These were not signs of being human. They were signs of a mind that had stopped governing itself. The antidote was not to feel less. It was to think more clearly in the moment the feeling arrived. Stoic philosophy gives you a framework to pause, to name what is happening inside you, and to choose your response instead of being dragged by it. That is not weakness. That is the most sophisticated form of strength a man can develop. A weapon only works if you pick it up. Pick it up. Reconstruction does not begin with behavior. It begins with perception. Before you change what you do, you must change how you see, because the man who sees the screen as a reward will always return to it. The man who sees it as a trap has already begun to leave. The Stoics called this metanoia, a transformation of the mind, not motivation, not resolution, a fundamental shift in the way you interpret what is happening around you and inside you. This is not done in a single moment. It is done in thousands of small moments. Each time you pause instead of react, each time you name the impulse instead of obeying it, each time you choose the harder option because you understand what the easier one costs. The mind is not fixed. It is trained. Marcus Aurelius was not born disciplined. He built it, line by line, morning by morning, choice by choice. The Meditations are not the writings of a man who had it figured out. They are the writings of a man who refused to stop working on himself. That work is available to you. It starts with the next decision you make. You have a list. You may not have written it down, but it exists, a mental archive of reasons, explanations, and circumstances that account for why you are where you are and why change has not happened yet. The stress, the past, the way you were raised, the way the world is built, the algorithm, the industry, the timing, all of it real, none of it relevant. Because responsibility does not ask whether the conditions were fair. It asks what you are going to do inside the conditions that exist. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. There are things within your power and things outside it. Your circumstances, your past, the system, outside your power, your attention, your choices, your response, entirely yours. The moment you stop explaining yourself and start governing yourself, something shifts. Not because the world changes, because you stop waiting for it to. A man who owns his situation completely, without blame, without excuses, without negotiation, is a man the situation can no longer control. That man is available to you. He is waiting on the other side of your last excuse. There is a misunderstanding that keeps men trapped. The belief that discipline means suppression, that the controlled man is the repressed man, that somewhere beneath all that structure is a frustrated version of himself, denied and diminished, waiting to break free. That is not discipline. That is resistance. And resistance always eventually fails. The Stoics were not repressing their impulses. They were governing them. There is a fundamental difference between a man who white-knuckles his way through temptation and a man who has genuinely reordered his desires. The governed man does not fight the impulse with the same intensity every time. He has changed what he wants, not through denial, through understanding. He has seen clearly what the impulse costs, what it produces, and what it takes from him. And that clarity has made the choice obvious. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant by living according to nature, not the nature of appetite, the nature of reason, the highest capacity a human being possesses. Repression is exhausting. Governance is powerful. One is a war you fight every day. The other is a war you have already won. No one is coming. There is no intervention, no perfect moment, no version of your life where the conditions finally align and change becomes easy. There is only this moment, and the next one, and the choice you make inside each of them. You have spent enough time inside the cycle. You know how it works. You know what it costs. You have felt the hollow that comes after the hit, the shame that lives in the gap between who you are and who you are capable of being. That knowledge is not a burden, it is a weapon. Marcus Aurelius did not wait for Rome to become a better place before he decided to become a better man. He did not wait for the wars to end, for the politics to settle, for the plague to pass. He picked up his pen in the darkness of the morning, and he did the work. That same darkness is available to you every single day. You do not need a program. You do not need a community. You do not need anyone's approval or validation or permission. You need a decision, one that you make not with emotion, not with motivation, not with the temporary fire that a video like this can light, but with the cold, clear, unshakable understanding that the man you are becoming is built in the moments no one sees, in the choices no one applauds, in the discipline no one rewards. You are not weak, you are not broken, you are not too far gone. You are a man who has been asleep inside a system designed to keep you that way. Wake up, not for anyone watching, not for the version of yourself you perform online, for the man you are when no one is looking. He has been waiting long enough.